0517 local time, Northern Arabian Sea. Inside the Combat Information Center, the atmosphere is calm and cool. Consoles cast a low glow through the controlled darkness. Radar sweeps move across the SPY-1 display in steady rotation. Routine maritime traffic fills the outer rings. Then, all at once, 4 surface contacts change behavior. Speed increasing, course shifting, formation tightening. No AIS. No bridge-to-bridge response, no civilian routing pattern. Multiple fast movers bearing 098 range 21 nautical miles. The contacts jump from 14 knots to 32 in under 90 seconds. This is not random movement, it is coordinated. The tactical action officer leans in, voice level. Confirm track correlation. Correlation confirmed. All 4 vessels belong to the same group. Profile matches Iranian fast attack craft. Low radar cross-section, strong wake signature. They are not drifting, they are moving with purpose. On the bridge, the destroyer holds a steady course. No visible reaction. Helm unchanged, wake unchanged. To anyone outside, nothing looks different. Inside, the posture shifts. Condition 3, set and man key stations. The announcement moves through the passageways without panic and without delay. Sailors secure loose equipment. Weapon stations are manned. Electronic warfare comes fully online. The forward 5-inch gun mount turns 5 degrees to starboard. Not enough to threaten, just enough to be noticed. Range falls to 18 nautical miles. One Iranian vessel inches ahead of the others, adjusting its bearing toward the destroyer's projected track. CPA, closest point of approach, begins shrinking in real time. CPA now 3.6 nautical miles. Time to CPA 8 minutes. A bridge-to-bridge hail goes out. Unidentified Iranian naval vessels. This is a United States warship conducting lawful transit in international waters. You are approaching at high speed. Recommend alter course immediately. No reply. A second hail follows in Farsi. Still silence. Electronic warfare logs show a narrowband radar sweep from the coastline. Low-power surface search mode. Not locked, but watching. Then the tactical display updates again. 2 additional airborne contacts lifting from Bandar Abbas, altitude climbing through 8,000 feet, heading outbound toward the carrier strike group. The destroyer is not alone in these waters. Beyond the horizon, the carrier continues on course with layered escorts. But geometry matters. Fast surface craft are compressing from one direction. Airborne contacts are building from another. No one says escalation out loud. It does not need to be said. It is unfolding one measured step at a time. Air picture expanding, CIC reports. Recommend alert launch. On the flight deck, steam pressure builds in the catapults. Yellow shirts move with machine-like precision. 2 FA-18 Super Hornets sit armed in an air-to-air configuration. No strike loadout, purely defensive. The Iranian surface formation splits. 2 craft drift slightly to port. 2 maintain the starboard approach. A textbook compression maneuver. Range now 14 nautical miles. Speed still above 30 knots. Wake patterns confirm sustained throttle. Inside CIC, nobody guesses, nobody improvises. They log every bearing shift, engine signature, and radar change. One Iranian vessel cuts harder, now projected to pass inside 2 nautical miles of the destroyer's bow. At that distance, a high-speed pass becomes either a signal or a serious mistake. CPA 2.9 and decreasing. The destroyer does not turn. Helm steady. Electronic countermeasures are armed but passive. The forward CIWS tracks automatically for calibration. The phalanx mount pivots, its white dome adjusting by fractions as it calculates trajectories everyone hopes remain theoretical. The Iranian boats are now inside 10 nautical miles. The airborne contacts continue outbound. The Super Hornets launch. Twin afterburners carve clean lines across the morning sky. They climb without showmanship, sliding into a flanking position between the approaching aircraft and the carrier's axis. No aggressive radar, no lock tones, just presence. Back on the surface, one Iranian fast attack craft pushes to 34 knots. It edges closer than the others. Projected crossing, inside 1.8 nautical miles. The bridge transmits again. You are conducting unsafe maneuvering. Alter course immediately. No reply. The Iranian vessel holds speed. At this distance, crews can make out hull numbers through optics. Deck personnel are visible. Helmets on. Movement appears near the forward gun mount. Not active, but not relaxed either. CPA 1.6 nautical miles. The captain watches the plot for a few seconds, then gives a single instruction. Log everything. Nothing more. Because at sea, escalation is not always measured by what is fired. Sometimes it is measured by distance. And right now, Iran is still closing. 0524 local time, range 12 nautical miles. The 4 Iranian fast attack craft shift formation again. 2 break slightly to port, 2 hold starboard. The geometry tightens into a shallow pincer aimed at the destroyer's projected path. Speed remains above 30 knots. This is no longer parallel shadowing, this is compression. Inside the Combat Information Center, track lines redraw in real time. Multiple surface contacts maneuvering with intent. The report carries no emotion, only confirmation. Electronic warfare logs catch another emission spike from the Iranian coastline. Short-duration surface search radar. Not fire control grade, but closer to that threshold. The air picture steadies as the 2 F/A-18 Super Hornets climb through 20,000 feet. They establish a barrier between the outbound Iranian aircraft and the carrier's axis. Radar remains in track while scan. No aggressive illumination. Up high, restraint is deliberate. Down on the surface, distance keeps collapsing. 9 nautical miles. 1 Iranian craft surges ahead. Its wake flattens into a sharp V behind it. It adjusts 5 degrees to starboard. Direct intercept. CPA now 2.4 nautical miles. Time to CPA 5 minutes. The destroyer does not alter course. Helm steady, speed constant. That choice is visible to everyone watching. The forward 5-inch gun remains trained slightly off centerline. Not threatening, simply present. The Phalanx CIWS continues its silent calibration sweep, tracking targets in simulation mode. 1 Iranian vessel crosses ahead of the destroyer's projected bow at 2.1 nautical miles. Too close to dismiss as coincidence. The bridge transmits again. You are maneuvering unsafely in international waters. Recommend immediate course correction. No reply. Instead, the Iranian vessel adds more throttle. Exhaust haze thickens. Bow wave rises. Inside CIC, the surface warfare coordinator calls out a detail that changes the atmosphere. Coastal radar spike. Bearing 087. Duration 2 seconds. That is not background traffic. That is focused attention. Aegis classifies the emission as matching a known Iranian coastal battery signature. Still below fire control quality, but clearly a test. The second pair of Iranian fast boats accelerate as well. They tighten behind the lead vessel, now within 7 nautical miles. The destroyer stays centered in its transit lane. No zigzag, no retreat, just steady forward motion. Then, above the waterline, a Seahawk helicopter lifts from the aft deck. Its rotors cut low across the wake before the aircraft banks left and drops to 200 feet above sea level. Its purpose is simple: presence. The helicopter closes the distance much faster than the boats. Forward-looking infrared comes online. High-resolution thermal imagery begins streaming back to CIC. Engine heat, deck crew movement, and radar arrays are all captured, logged, and stamped to the second. Then, at 8 nautical miles, the lead Iranian vessel shifts again, a harder turn this time. Its new track will carry it across the destroyer's bow at just 1.5 nautical miles. At that speed, the margin for error is measured in seconds. CPA 1.5. Time to CPA, 3 minutes. The Phalanx mount rotates directly toward the approaching craft. It is not armed, but the signal is unmistakable. Above, the Seahawk settles into a wide orbit over the Iranian formation. Its sensor turret fixes on the bridge of the lead vessel. Optical zoom picks up crew movement near the forward gun. The weapon is still unmanned, but it is clearly in view. The helicopter transmits on an open frequency. Iranian naval vessel, you are conducting an unsafe approach. Alter course immediately. The warning is repeated in Farsi. No answer. Instead, the craft keeps its speed, closing to 1.3 nautical miles. Inside the destroyer, missile systems remain powered while safeties stay engaged. SM-2 intercept solutions continue running silently in the background. Not needed yet, but ready. One of the trailing Iranian vessels inches closer to the destroyer's port quarter, trimming the gap to just over 2 nautical miles. The encirclement is nearly complete. In the air, the Super Hornets make a subtle adjustment in altitude, sliding into a flanking position against the inbound Iranian aircraft. Still no lock, still no overt aggression. Just controlled force applied at controlled distance. On the surface, the range tightens to 1.2 nautical miles. Then, for the first time, the lead Iranian craft eases back by 4 knots. Small change, important change. Its wake shortens. Its nose drifts a few degrees off the sharp intercept line. Not a retreat, but no longer a direct collision path. The destroyer never altered course, never raised its voice, never fired. But the message has already been delivered through steel, bearing lines, and radar arcs. Iran pressed. The Navy held. and at 0529 local time, the encirclement begins to loosen. By 0531, the lead Iranian fast attack craft remains at 1.2 nautical miles. The trailing pair sit at 2.4 nautical miles and still tightening. Inside the Combat Information Center, every console is active, but the atmosphere stays controlled. No shouting, no wasted motion, only precise, clipped callouts. Then the tone shifts. Radar spike, coastal bearing 085. The electronic warfare console flashes amber. Duration, 1.7 seconds. Mode, fire control illumination. That is no longer routine surface search behavior. That is targeting. Inside CIC, the change is not heard in volume. It is felt in weight. Aegis immediately reprioritizes the track picture. Surface threats remain primary, but the air picture now overlays at a higher alert level. Engagement envelopes begin calculating automatically. No missile leaves a rail, but the math is already running. On the bridge, the captain listens without turning. Confirm classification. Confirmed. Coastal battery illumination. Not continuous. A pause. Then one calm sentence. Set defensive posture Alpha. No alarm sounds, yet the ship's posture changes instantly. Missile launchers move from standby to active readiness. SM2 circuits are fully energized. ESSM cells receive probable intercept vectors. Phalanx shifts from simulation tracking to live track authorization. High above, at 28,000 feet, the lead Super Hornet pilot hears it. A hard radar lock tone. Not a sweep, a lock. The kind that comes just before a shot. Spike, 12 o'clock high. The Iranian fighter, likely an F-4 Phantom variant or an upgraded equivalent, has moved from observation to weapons-grade tracking. 4 seconds. That can be the difference between lock and launch in modern air combat. The Hornet snaps into a hard left bank and drops altitude. Countermeasures arm automatically. The AN/ALQ-214 begins pushing jamming pulses meant to distort the tracking solution. The second Hornet climbs, sliding into high cover position behind the Iranian jet. Still silent. Still no return lock. Not yet. Down on the surface, the lead Iranian fast boat seems to sense the escalation overhead and surges again. Throttle forward. Range 0.9 nautical miles. Too close. The bridge transmission comes sharper now. Iranian vessel, you are inside unsafe maneuvering distance. Alter course immediately. No reply. The craft's bow shifts by a fraction toward the destroyer's starboard quarter. Crew members are visible near the forward-mounted gun, still unmanned but poised. Inside CIC, time compresses. Air track holding sustained lock, coastal battery silent. The destroyer's radar assigns priority to the airborne threat. Intercept geometry is plotted. Engagement windows are calculated. If a missile leaves that Iranian aircraft, response time will be counted in seconds. The captain speaks again, calm and level. If they fire, we finish it. No explanation follows. None is needed. Everyone on the ship already understands the rules. Launch on detect authority stands ready. Surface range, 0.8 nautical miles. Wake from the Iranian fast craft now brushes the destroyer's hull lightly, close enough to be felt through the steel. The phalanx mount aligns fully. Its mechanical hum becomes audible topside. The Seahawk widens its orbit but keeps sensors fixed on the lead boat's bridge windows. Infrared imagery captures the facial heat signatures of the Iranian crew. Every frame is archived. In the sky, the Hornet pilot counts in silence. 1 second, 2, 3. The lock tone holds. Then it disappears. The Iranian jet breaks right, banking sharply back toward the coastline. No missile plume, no flare release. Just a hard turn and a retreat vector. Lock broken, the pilot reports. The second Hornet stays in position, monitoring the withdrawal path. Still no return lock. Still no trigger pulled. Back on the surface, the Iranian fast attack craft hesitates. Its speed drops from 34 knots to 23. Then comes a slight turn away from the destroyer's projected track. The trailing pair mirror the move. The pincer collapses. Range opens to 1.1 nautical miles. Inside CIC, the tension does not vanish at once. All systems remain armed. Aegis continues to track. Missile intercept solutions stay live because the radar spike happened, and once that threshold is crossed, doctrine changes with it. Iran did not fire, but they reached the outer edge of real weapons engagement. The strike group will remember that. In the air, the Super Hornets shadow the retreating aircraft to a safe standoff distance. No pursuit into territorial airspace. Professional spacing. Controlled disengagement. On the surface, the Iranian fast boats widen their separation. 1.5 nautical miles, then 2.1. Their wakes stretch longer as throttle comes back. No apology, no radio explanation, just distance. At 0537 local time, the immediate threat vector stabilizes. No missile launched, no round fired. But the crisis passed close to ignition. Iran pushed beyond posture, beyond compression, and into unmistakable weapons-grade signaling. And for 4 brief seconds over the Arabian Sea, the line between warning and open conflict narrowed to almost nothing. By 0536 local time, the Iranian fighter's radar lock is gone. The fast attack craft are no longer accelerating, but no one stands down. Not yet. Inside the Combat Information Center, no one relaxes, because the most dangerous point in any escalation is often the transition. The moment when one side believes it is over, while the other is still doing the math. Surface contacts continue reducing speed, now 21 knots. Air tracks turn southeast. Exiting engagement geometry acknowledged. Missile systems remain fully powered. The SM-2 batteries keep their assigned tracks, though all safeties stay engaged. ESSM intercept envelopes continue updating against low-altitude vectors. The Phalanx maintains live tracking authorization. Nothing is powered down. Doctrine is clear. You never assume a withdrawal is permanent. Above the water, the Seahawk tightens its orbit once more over the lead Iranian vessel. 200 feet above the surface, steady and deliberate. Its sensor turret turns smoothly, recording hull markings, deck crew posture, antenna arrays. Every frame time-stamped, every movement archived. The helicopter broadcasts again. Iranian naval vessel, your approach has been recorded. Maintain safe separation. This time, a reply comes through the open frequency. The voice is rough, English broken but understandable. We conduct sovereign patrol near our waters. You adjust heading. The response from the destroyer comes immediately, calm and even. United States warship operating in international waters. Your unsafe maneuver has been logged. No argument follows. No raised voices. The Iranian fast craft shifts its heading by several degrees. A small change, but clearly measurable. Range begins increasing. 1.3 nautical miles. 1.7. The second pair of boats spread wider as well. Their wake lines no longer converging. In the sky, the Super Hornets continue holding offset shadow positions relative to the retreating Iranian aircraft. No radar lock in return, no flares, no warning shots. Professional restraint, controlled superiority. Inside CIC, the electronic warfare officer replays the earlier spike. Fire control illumination, 1.7 seconds. Frequency band matches a coastal anti-ship battery classification. A deliberate probe. That data moves immediately into fleet intelligence channels. Not for headlines, not for public briefings, but for doctrine updates, because that spike changes posture. By 0542, the Iranian fast attack craft reduced speed below 20 knots. Their formation stretches out, no longer synchronized. The pincer is gone. But something else has taken shape. A doctrinal adjustment. The carrier strike group transitions to a launch on detect protocol for future coastal illumination events. No extended confirmation windows. No lengthy warnings if sustained fire control lock appears again. If it flashes, response follows. Nothing about this change is announced publicly, but every combat systems officer in the strike group understands the shift. That is the response. Not missiles. Calibration. On the destroyer's bridge, the captain watches the range numbers continue climbing. 3.1 nautical miles. 4.8. The Iranian vessels now run parallel instead of converging. No additional radar spikes appear. Coastal emissions drop back to normal background levels. The Seahawk makes one final pass. Not aggressive, not low enough to provoke, just unmistakably present. Rotor wash scatters spray across the Iranian vessel's deck. Sailors glance upward, cameras record the moment. Then the helicopter climbs to 500 feet and turns back toward the destroyer's flight deck. Mission complete. No strike aircraft launched, no VLS hatches opened, no guns fired. Yet the message has already been delivered through layers of steel, radar, and discipline. You can test, you can press, you can illuminate a target for 1.7 seconds, but you do not control what happens next. At 0548 local time, the strike group returns to standard transit spacing. Combat air patrol remains overhead. An airborne early warning aircraft expands the surveillance bubble out to 200 nautical miles. Surface watch stays doubled. No one assumes the situation is finished. Encounters like this rarely stand alone. They are rehearsals. Iran tested compression tactics. They tested radar illumination. They tested aerial pressure. They also discovered the boundary. And that boundary just moved. Inside CIC, the tactical action officer enters the final line in the engagement log. No weapons discharged, all threats disengaged, strike group posture elevated. That elevation will not disappear overnight. The next time coastal radar spikes beyond a second, the reaction window will be shorter, tolerance thinner, interception faster. Iran pushed too far to call it routine, but not far enough to trigger destruction. They stepped onto the edge, and the Navy quietly moved the edge. Because sometimes the most decisive response is not the weapon you launch, it is the doctrine you change. 0602 local time. The Arabian Sea looks calm again. No smoke trails, no debris fields, no dramatic headlines. The carrier strike group continues its transit as if nothing unusual happened. But inside the network, everything has shifted. In the Combat Information Center, the sequence from 0517 onward plays back on repeat. Every radar sweep, every bearing change, every emission spike. The acceleration profile of the Iranian fast attack craft is isolated and stored. Engine signatures are cataloged. Wake geometry analyzed. Reaction times measured to the second. The 1.7-second fire control illumination from the coastal battery is examined frame by frame. Frequency bands logged, modulation patterns archived, signal strength compared against previous encounters. Iran did not fire, but they transmitted, and in modern naval warfare, a transmission is exposure. Above the deck, the Seahawk's sensor footage streams directly into encrypted storage. Close-up imagery of the Iranian bridge crew, antenna configurations, gun mount orientation, thermal profiles from exhaust systems running at high throttle. Data. Pure, actionable data. In the air, the Super Hornets transmit radar capture logs from the brief lock event. The targeting waveform from the Iranian fighter is mapped and tagged. The next time that pattern appears on a screen, the system will recognize it instantly. That is the quiet consequence. Iran intended to apply pressure. Instead, they delivered signatures. Across the strike group, posture shifts from defensive alpha to an elevated steady-state alert. Combat air patrol spacing tightens by 5 nautical miles. Electronic warfare monitoring expands its filter sensitivity. Aegis threat prioritization algorithms update automatically across the formation. No announcement is made, no broadcast. But doctrine adapts in silence. The destroyer's commanding officer steps back from the tactical display only after the range to the Iranian vessels exceeds 12 nautical miles. They remain visible on radar, but no longer maneuvering, no longer compressing. Now they drift along the edge of detection, testing the perimeter without crossing it again. At 0618, the Iranian aircraft turn back toward coastal airspace. Their retreat vector confirms no further intercept geometry. The Super Hornets maintain distance until positive separation is confirmed. Only then do they turn back toward the carrier. Fuel state normal, weapons still unfired. Mission status logged, contained escalation. But containment is not the same as victory. It is calibration. Within minutes, intelligence summaries begin forming. Fleet headquarters receives the first encrypted packet before the sun fully clears the horizon. Fire control illumination duration, surface compression timeline. Airborne lock interval. Every second is recorded because the next encounter will reference this one. Iran believed they were demonstrating resolve, but resolve without follow-through becomes revelation. They revealed how quickly their boats accelerate, how tightly they compress formation, how long their aircraft hold radar lock before breaking away. They revealed thresholds, and thresholds can be studied. The strike group never altered course, never raised its voice, never fired. That discipline carries weight far beyond a single morning, because escalation works like a ladder. And Iran stepped one rung too high. Not high enough to trigger missiles, but high enough to trigger memory. The line between routine shadowing and weapons-grade illumination is narrow. For a brief moment, they crossed it. And once crossed, expectations change. The next time, warning cycles will be shorter. Reaction windows tighter. Launch thresholds lower. Not publicly, not politically, operationally. At 0640 local time, the Arabian Sea returns to visual calm. Deck crews move back into routine tasks. Maintenance rotations begin. Radar screens fill again with commercial shipping lanes, and distant weather returns. But every sailor aboard the destroyer knows exactly what happened. For 4 seconds, the sky carried the tone of imminent conflict. For less than 2 minutes, steel hulls pushed toward collision geometry. For 1.7 seconds, a coastal battery illuminated American aircraft. Iran pressed, and the Navy did not blink. But blinking was never the objective. Adjustment was. Doctrine shifted. Response timelines shortened. Tolerance narrowed. No missiles launched, no explosions, no wreckage drifting in warm water. Yet the encounter still mattered. Because in modern naval competition, dominance is not always measured by destruction. Sometimes it is measured by who controls the escalation curve. Iran attempted to create pressure. Instead, they accelerated refinement. They wanted to demonstrate that they could challenge a carrier strike group. What they demonstrated instead was how quickly that pressure activates layered readiness. That is the real mistake. Not that they approached, not that they illuminated, but that they revealed. The Arabian Sea is quiet again. But the next time a radar spike lasts longer than a second, the response may not be measured in warnings. And that difference is exactly why pushing the US Navy too far is rarely a test worth taking.